Welcome to Despicable Maine Deep Dive. Today we're diving into a really persistent Maine mystery, Rod Hotham's disappearance, 1992.
It's a fascinating one. We got listener input on this, right?
We did. Folks sent us info on Roderick Hotham, who was a Bangor accountant. He vanished September 16th, 1992.
And that date is key because wasn't he supposed to meet with the state attorney general?
Exactly. The
Yes.
very same day. And at the time, well, Hotham was facing some serious fraud charges himself. We're talking $4 million.
But he was also claiming he had dirt on other people, potentially implicating them in crimes.
That's the claim. So we've sifted through news articles, online discussions, personal accounts people shared. It paints a really complicated picture.
Definitely not straightforward.
No. So our mission today is to unpack all this. We want to understand the key questions around his disappearance, especially focusing on, his brother's relentless search for answers.
It's a story with these two immediate conflicting narratives, isn't it? Fugitive on the run versus whistleblower with dangerous information.
Right. Where do you even start? Let's go back to that day, September 16th, 1992. He's got this meeting scheduled with the Maine Attorney General.
Okay, so what do we know about his movements?
Well, an acquaintance apparently saw him around 11 a.m. He was near Dysart's truck stop in Hermon, by his van, a blue Dodge Caravan.
Okay.
Then, maybe an hour later, around noon, he's at the Stucco Lodge in Vesey. An employee there gave him cash, $9,000 from a check he'd cashed earlier.
And that employee,
Yep.
that's the last person confirmed to have seen him alive.
That's the last confirmed sighting, yeah. Now remember, this is the guy who supposedly had boxes, plural, of incriminating evidence, white-collar crime stuff.
Evidence he intended to hand over to the AG.
Supposedly, but he never made it to the AG's office, just
Didn't.
vanished.
It was like,
Okay.
imagine you finally have the winning lottery ticket clutched in your hand, you're walking to cash it in, and then, poof, you're gone, ticket and all.
Exactly. Where did he go? Where did the evidence go? And that $9,000, what was that for?
Was it escape money? Or something else? Protection money? Who knows? But vanishing right before delivering evidence, it screams foul play to some, obviously.
Which brings us straight to the official story versus what his family believes. Officially, Bangor PD still lists Roderick Hotham as a fugitive from justice.
Still, after all these years.
Yep. And get this, a federal grand jury was actually expected to indict him on bank fraud and money laundering charges that very day he disappeared.
Wow, the timing.
Right. They didn't actually indict until 2 months later, though. 8 counts of bank fraud, 9 of money laundering. Federal arrest warrant issued. So legally, case closed. Guy ran from the law.
That's the neat official box it's been kept in. But the family, especially his brother Tim, they're not buying it. Not for a second.
Not at all. Tim Hotham insists Rod is dead. He's certain he was murdered on September 16th, 1992.
And he's been incredibly vocal about this, hasn't he? Pushing for it to be seen as a homicide.
Absolutely. And he claims the Maine State Police actually searched for Rod's body out west of Dover-Foxcroft back in 2005.
A specific search. Did the police confirm that?
Nope. State police won't confirm or deny, just cite the ongoing case. It's kind of like them saying, we might have looked, maybe not, who's counting? It's definitely not solved anyway.
Frustrating for the family, I imagine.
You bet. And their mother, Elaine Hotham, she believed Rod was, quote, destroyed for what he knew, what he discovered. She thinks his accounting work uncovered something big and dangerous.
So the family sees him not as a criminal, but as someone who's stumbled onto something, tried to do the right thing, and was silenced.
That's their narrative. And Tim claims he even brought evidence to the state police maybe 12 or 13 years ago now that he says spells it out regarding the murder.
Evidence of a murder. Did you say who he suspects?
He hasn't named names publicly, but he's hinted at the possibility of, like, a hired killer.
A hired killer?
Yeah.
Okay. What about those boxes of evidence Rod supposedly had? What happened to them?
Well, after Rod vanished, Attorney General Michael Carpenter did look at 6 boxes of materials Rod left behind.
What did he find?
His take was basically, well, there's a lot of paper here, but without Rod to explain what it all means, its significance isn't clear. It needed context Rod could provide.
Which is convenient if someone didn't want that context known.
Precisely. But Tim Hotham, based on his own digging, he has a much more explosive theory. He's posted online suggesting Rod stepped into a black op money laundering operation.
Oh, Black Ock. Involving who?
He alleges connections to, quote, powerful deep state forces within the FBI and DOJ. Claims it started when Rod did an independent audit for the Penobscot Indian Nation back in the late 80s.
An audit for the nation. related to their land claim settlement.
That's what Tim says, that Rod uncovered corruption tied to that $80 million settlement. Corruption going, in his words, to the top of our government.
Wow. Okay, so we've gone from accounting irregularities to a massive government conspiracy theory. It's like auditing some books accidentally led him to uncovering something bigger than a Maine winter storm.
It's a huge leap, absolutely. And we have to stress, these are Tim Hotham's allegations, unproven.
Of course. But it's the narrative he believes explains his brother's disappearance and alleged murder.
He claims Rod refused some kind of sweetheart deal to look the other way or participate, and after that, the threats and harassment started.
So in Tim's view, the federal fraud charges weren't legitimate.
He sees them as a tool, a way to demonize and destroy an innocent man to shut him up before he could talk.
And the 2-month delay between disappearance and indictment.
Tim thinks that was tactical. He believes they waited, maybe saw the family starting to push the murder angle, and then dropped the indictment to regain control, to reestablish Rod as a criminal on the run, like damage control.
Trying to solidify the official narrative before the families gain too much traction.
Yeah, and it gets wilder. Tim claims Rod had an incriminating tape of a U.S. senator.
A tape? Of which senator?
He specifically suggests U.S. Senator William S. Cohen, claiming Cohen intervened somehow to suppress the truth.
Okay, a secret tape, a powerful senator. This sounds like a plot from maybe a bad spy movie, but apparently this was Maine in the 90s, according to Tim.
Again, Tim's claim. No independent verification of this tape or intervention has emerged, as far as we know from the sources.
It's crucial to keep separating the documented facts from the family's theories, however compelling they might seem.
Absolutely. So let's look at what law enforcement has done, or hasn't. The FBI was initially lead on the fraud case. Now they're more in a support role to Bangor PD and state police.
Standard procedure once the immediate federal charges aspect cools down, perhaps.
Maybe. But here's something concrete. Unsealed court documents show the U.S. Attorney's Office was covertly tracking phone numbers. About a dozen lines belonging to Rod Hotham's relatives.
Tracking the family. When was this?
Between 2011 and 2015, so years after he disappeared, they were clearly still looking for him, or leads to him.
And did they find anything?
According to the reports, nope. All that surveillance yielded basically nothing useful. It's like they cast this huge, expensive net and came up empty. It just caught seaweed.
Which could mean he's very good at hiding, or he's not around to be found.
Or that the family genuinely didn't know where he was. Remember, America's Most Wanted. They featured him back in 2001.
Did that generate any leads? Usually does.
Only 3 tips came in, apparently, and all of them were fruitless. Went nowhere.
Huh. So despite Tim Hotham pushing the murder angle, despite the family's beliefs, the official status hasn't budged. Still a missing person? Wanted fugitive.
Correct. It really feels like they're looking under every single rock except the one clearly labeled potential murder investigation.
Which must be immensely frustrating for Tim and the rest of the family, who are convinced that's the only rock worth turning over.
You have to think so. And it's worth remembering who Rod Hotham was in Bangor before all this. He wasn't some shady character operating on the fringes.
No, he was established, right?
Very. A well-known CPA, own or part-owned businesses, involved civically Bangor Noontime Rotary Club, treasurer for the Bangor YMCA.
Held positions at Husson College, too, I think. And the Water District.
Yeah, VP at Husson, chairman of the Bangor Water District. This guy had deep roots. It makes the whole just walked-away idea feel thin.
It definitely adds weight to the family's skepticism about him simply fleeing. Why abandon all that? Unless the pressure was immense.
And Tim shared parts of a commencement speech Rod gave back in '87. He was talking about public apathy, media influence, the need for vigilance over power.
Sounds like someone concerned with ethics and accountability.
He even laid out these 4 guiding principles: positive mental attitude, volunteerism, learning, and voting. That was his recipe for improving the country. Gives you a different picture of the man.
It really does. It paints him as thoughtful, engaged, makes the fugitive narrative feel even more jarring.
And then there are the really chilling bits from the family. His mother, Elaine, recalls Rod telling her shortly before he disappeared, "Mom, big trees are gonna fall."
Oh, wow.
And she concluded, sadly, he was the one who fell.
That implies he knew something big was coming, something dangerous involving powerful people.
It certainly sounds like it. And Tim recounted a specific night when Rod was apparently terrified for his life, hiding out in a hotel room with a shotgun.
A shotgun for protection. That speaks volumes about his state of mind. That's not just worry about fraud charges. That sounds like fear of physical harm.
Exactly. It points towards something much darker, which leads to this final, really cryptic piece from Tim Hotham's online writings. He mentioned something called the Brownstone control file.
Brownstone control file. What is that?
We don't know. Tim wrote, quote, "The deep state was managing their Rod Hotham problem in the courts until the Brownstone control file came into play. That was the dirty secret that got Rod killed," end quote.
So he's claiming this unknown file was the actual trigger, the thing that made Rod too dangerous to leave alive.
That seems to be the implication. But the nature of this file, what information it contained, it's completely undefined in the sources we have. It's like the final missing piece of a very disturbing puzzle.
Just adds another layer of unanswered questions and, frankly, conspiracy-level intrigue to the whole thing.
So yeah, Roderick Hotham's disappearance. It remains this chilling, cold case. Was he a criminal who successfully fled? Or was he a whistleblower who got silenced?
The conflicting narratives are just stark. And the official story feels increasingly incomplete when you factor in the family's accounts and Tim's relentless search.
Absolutely. Tim Hotham's persistence, his refusal to let it go, it really underscores the belief that there's way more to this than meets the eye. The alleged dirty tricks, the surveillance, the lack of answers for the family. It's a powerful reminder of how easily truth can get buried.
His dedication is really the engine keeping this story alive, pushing against that official narrative.
Definitely. And as always, we encourage you, our listeners, if you have any personal stories, insights, or maybe even information related to Rod Hotham's disappearance, please reach out.
Your perspective could be valuable.
It could. Send anything you have, stories, links, audio, video, to despicablemane@gmail.com. You never know what might help shed more light on this decades-old mystery.
It's important these stories continue to be told.
It is. Thanks for tuning in to the Despicable Maine Deep Dive podcast. Until next time.
In the heart of Despicable Maine, a man disappeared with a briefcase full of secrets and a truth they feared. He was heading for justice, but justice took a fall. Now there's silence in the courthouse and shadows on the wall. He held the truth like a loaded gun against the dark where the powerful run, but justice never came. Just a state with no name. On a brother's quest for truth in Despicable Maine, through the farm and corruption, through power and pain. They say he ran, but I've seen the proof. He died for what he knew. Now I carry that truth. This is a brother's quest in Despicable Maine. They call him a fugitive, but his soul still remains buried beneath the ledgers of Despicable Maine. He uncovered the blood behind the banks and the bribes, but when he got too close, they erased him from time. He walked too far down that twisted road where senators hide and the files explode. But I still hear him say, "Don't let this fade away." On a brother's quest for truth in Despicable Maine, through the doors and the wiretaps, through heartache and shame. They spun the tale, but I've lived the proof. He never fled, he was silenced for truth. This is a brother's quest in Despicable Maine. They call him a fugitive, but Despicable Maine. But through locked doors and wiretaps, through the bloodstained chain, they thought they buried him deep in the past. But I'm still digging and I won't be the last. A brother's quest for truth still burns like a flame. Through the lies of the system, through Despicable Maine. He held the line, and I'll walk it too. Through every threat, through every wound. This is a brother's cry. This is a brother's fight for truth in Despicable Despicable Maine.